Welcome, gorgeous souls. Happy Tuesday. I'm excited. I'm playing around with doing something different and trying to make sure that when I go live, I'm not wasting my time. I gets lost on a grid that disappears after a few days. So I'm playing with StreamYard at the moment, and it's somehow magically just actually allowed me to stream onto my Allera Dawn page. So let's just have a quick look and see if it's doing that there. I'm not sure if, oh, I am. Yes, great. I'm live. Perfect. Okay, so, right, where to start? So firstly, what I'd really like you to do, just because the kind of piece that I'm wishing to bring through is a transmission, I will be channeling. So that means there's an energetic exchange. So don't listen to this whilst you're driving. I would recommend feet on the ground. And what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes and bring yourself into your heart space. So just with intention, bring yourself into the heart space. And as you do this, take a big deep breath. And I want you to imagine with the heartbeat that your vibration of the heartbeat is actually going out into the field around you, so that you start to have a sense of your own electromagnetic field. And as you do this, each heartbeat is going to start to bring in a frequency of unconditional love into your field. And we're just going to bring that frequency in now and start to form a sphere of light around you. We're creating a cosmic classroom around you. I'm just going to ask the teams just to activate and run a field review, just to ensure that if there's any malevolence, any entity, energy being, anything that is not of divine light or is of your soul, that we clear that out now. So we're just lock anchoring, sealing this so that nothing and no one can influence you. You are your own being. You are anchored into the second dimensional earth grids. Now I'm just going to bring your energy fields into Haric line. Take a big deep breath and wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and just open your eyes. So from that space, you're ready to receive. And as many of you will know, my role has evolved over the years, and I'm being called now to really step out into mainstream with what I'm doing. Over the past year, the messaging might have seemed a bit confusing because you will have seen me talking about workplace wellness, and I'm off talking about all these different things. And it's because I'm a bridge between these different areas. And that means, and there's going to be other people doing this as well in their own guises, but my offering is that I am able, as a multidimensional healer and channel, for those of you that know my work, I had a near-death experience age 2, another at 4, and I was actually opened up as a channel. So my experiences have given me quite a unique perspective on many different things that are actually of benefit now. And this is not I don't work under a closed system. So my Soul Architect series is an open system, meaning as long as I'm still on this planet, learning, expanding, letting go of things, alchemizing things, I can bring that into that system, and it becomes a collective field through the work that I create, embody, and bring through. One of the key things that has come through over the past couple of weeks is the multi-shifts that we have gone through. So a lot of us have been working towards this new paradigm as though it's like outside of us, this new paradigm that is not yet here. The shifts that have occurred in the last week have literally shifted the trajectory of what is happening within nature, the earth, and the holographic templates have split between old reality and new reality. And I'll go into a little bit of that in a moment. But when we're talking about being multidimensional, which is a word that's thrown out a lot, I want you to bring that back into the heart coherence, and I want you to start to tap into, and as we do this at this time, I'm actually going to start to light up a part of your consciousness that understands that you are a multidimensional being, meaning there are aspects of you that are needing to come back into form, that are operating maybe out of coherence with who they are, and that is influencing you in this now moment. There are also parts of you that have a higher intelligence, we would call this higher self if we want to, on multiple levels, that hold wisdom and codes that you can actually bring forth and embody now. We are operating in the multiverse of who you are. So in understanding that everything is you in relation to you, and you might be thinking that the day-to-day strategy of how you're living and your routines, and it's maybe not working, you are influenced by other aspects of yourself who are operating at this time energetically. So when we begin to understand that our parallel versions of self are influencing us at any moment, we start to expand into a wider perspective of wisdom of multiple realities happening. This also means that if there is a 3D version of you now, there is a version of you that has actualized 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, right the way up to, 40 dimensional versions of self. Those aspects are there. They are also going through their own evolution, their own ascension and descension through that dimensional plane of consciousness. All of those parts of your being affect you in this now and this time frame. So when we are looking at raising your vibrational frequency, we are looking at clearing the vessel enough to be able, the bio-hologram, to be able to deal with the plasma, the light, the frequencies, the codes that your higher self or more light source comes into the physical vessel. So you don't go anywhere else to the fifth dimension. You don't go anywhere else to this new paradigm. You become it. You become it because this is like the vessel of alchemy. So what's happened on this planet at the moment is that there has been enough of a coherent shift, meaning there is enough people that have been able to start operating through the heart. That doesn't mean all love and light. That actually just means deeper levels of awareness, deeper openings to 0 point, deeper openings to the inner intelligence of our co-creation in everything that we do, including the multi-levels of being that we are. So when we're beginning to talk about quantum biology, quantum physics, understanding that mitochondria is the communication tool for light, sound, and frequency within us, we begin to also, we're proving this holographic reality now through science. It's caught up. So when we start to understand that within ourselves, we begin to understand that the as within, so without means that we always can go and check what's going on within this biohologram. We can always check what's happening with our parallel versions of selves. And when we begin to anchor in that as part of our evolution routine, so it's not just a new strategy in business or try out a new skill. When we're taking a shift towards what we desire, we have to remember it's not just you in your head that needs the change. We need to look at the other parts of self. And that does not need to be something that takes a long time. It's just something that is about self-mastery of all of you. So bringing into wholeness means that you are not just this one tiny aspect of yourself. You are multiple aspects. And part of being able to bring in your soul wisdom and gifts comes through clearing the karma, the events, the traumas, the experiences, the lessons, which then clear the antimatter that will be in your field at multidimensional levels, that will be also creating a kind of vacuum to connect to other consciousness that holds that same distortion. So we start to look at what we called past life clearings, but in truth, it's quantum life clearings, because all of those things are happening all at once for different aspects of your soul. Now, people are getting very curious about intuition, and I'm seeing intuition being taught through the mind. Intuition really is about harnessing the multidimensional level of being and recognizing that the heart is the gateway as a sensory electromagnetic field to be able to feel into different timelines, to be able to interdimensionally travel, to be able to actually start to use and utilize your light body differently. It's literally about expanding your own consciousness and being able to decipher the information that you can feed through, and not just filter it through the heart, but have cohesion between the different levels of sensory awareness. This takes mastery, but the way to clear out, the quickest way I found to clear out the channel, shall we say, so that you hold more of your source light, more of your soul consciousness, and be able to hold that more in an embodied, cohesive way, is about know yourself. And I've been saying this across all platforms. What does that mean? It means to not just be curious about past lives or whatever else. It's to start to be the soul detective. It's to start to understand that if something is not working in your current reality, the clearest way to start with almost like fresh slate is to do the inner alchemy. It's to go in and find what timeline at this point is influencing and blocking me from being able to take the next step in my life, my experience. And going to those root timelines where that event, where the frequency, where the interaction, where the pattern, where the maybe even alliance with certain beings, consciousness groups occurred, and understanding the role that you have played, or I say have or are playing, because there is a part of your consciousness where that is animated and still happening, that is still influencing you in this now. It is only when we clear those pieces, collapse out that timeline of influence, and remove what would be classed as we'll call them like energetic contractual agreements, which are something that we're actually moving out of in the kind of new paradigm. We're not going to be operating through contracts which have a karmic frequency to them. So remembering that what we have not yet accessed, what we have not evolved through, we have to go into those pieces to understand them. We will find that at root, we can clear the chain, but we need to understand why we have also then manifested a relationship, a family line, an ancestral line that then has the like for like frequency, so that you could be able to, at some point that was predetermined by your soul, be activated enough to be able to start to do this work. And when we do it, we do not just do it for you. We do it for all parts of you, your monadic group, your oversoul, right the way back to source. We do it through the ancestral line. Why? Because if you don't clear at that level, what is happening is when we are doing individual little bits of work here, it's like a funnel, like a web, and it comes back into self. So you end up in these looping patterns, actually clearing the choices of maybe your ancestors that was not yours. And when we realize that much of what is also influencing us can also be a higher dimensional aspect of yourself that is going through something that is then influencing you in the now. So I remember clearing many years ago an 8th dimensional aspect of self that was going through an experience of abuse. And actually, by going in and clearing that, actually healed an ailment that I was experiencing in this timeline, and meant that I was basically healing myself, all of myself, because everything is us in relation to us. This is very, very, I will say, activating high level awareness. But if you are feeling stuck by the information that you have been learning, it's because you are ready for the expansion of the next piece. The way that we embody the higher frequencies of light consciousness and start to be able to operate in our normal set point is by clearing the energetic frequencies within us at multidimensional levels of our being, including the physicality. We hold this on a cellular level. We hold this within the body. We hold this within the tissues. But if you're only focusing on that and nothing else, you will just be getting a stream of all the other stuff coming through. And if we do not clear it out at soul level, you are still energetically, it's like your blueprint is set up for these certain events. If we don't clear things at soul level, we are trying to put band-aids on things. So remember, energetics first, soul first. Why? Because that will shift a lot of the energy and the timelines that you are creating from. So when we're looking at new paradigm, the new paradigm does not hold victim consciousness. So that means for us to become it, for us to access it, we must be living with intention day to day. Not in I do a little routine in the morning and off I go to work and I forget about anything else, and I get annoyed at this person, frustrated at this person, all the thoughts are going in my head. Your thoughts are energetic commands. The frequencies we're moving into, it's telepathy. And I went through a phase in 2015 where I was picking up on everybody's thought forms in their field. When people start to get to that level, which people are, when they clear their channel enough to know the difference between what are theirs and what are others, they will be able to pick up on what you were thinking without you even saying anything. Because it's in your energy field, it's animated. Thoughts have an energetic charge. Your beliefs hold an energetic charge. They are deeper than something you can just tap out the body. You have 4 levels of belief. You've got belief that are imprinted and encoded within your DNA and your genes. That is your ancestral work that will be able to go in and clear that stuff for you, which will collapse out lots of timelines, lots of also holding on to old templates of what it means to be a woman in this lifetime, what marriage means, what love means, all this conditional love or lack of. And it all correlates back into money, ownership, we were collateral, all of it, all correlates back. So when we're looking at money beliefs and money story, when we're looking at our worthiness, let's go a dimension deeper. That means that we actually get to deeper layers of self, deeper levels of the illusion that we've been holding, so we can actually bring in more of source and soul. Because that is how we raise our frequency to a set point where we are not creating from outstanding karma. When we are conscious in our choices and our decisions and our interactions, and we also have to slow things down for this. And the way that the 3D reality has been structured, especially through patriarchy, is go, 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 don't stop. But what we've got to remember is that feminine flow actually gives us an opportunity for reflection. It allows us to use our interoception to be able to feel within us about opportunities, about people, about reflection. And we get the full data feedback from ourselves because we have honed that ability to be able to take that dance back and forth. In doing so, we actually mean that we can go, oh, wait a minute, that idea that comes up, that opportunity, that business opportunity, that actually fed my ego, in truth. When I feel into it, then when I do a bit more research on it in the physicality, I Google, I go and have, conversations with people, I realize it's not actually in alignment with who I am or my soul. It doesn't really feel good in my body. It actually is lip service. They're not achieving anything. Therefore, that's not aligned for me to be placing my time, energy, or focus, which would divert my timeline into somebody else's agenda. That level of discernment is going to bring you into deeper levels of self, because you are starting to navigate and question and trust the inner self rather than just jumping and leaping and just, with no discernment. The discernment comes with know yourself. The discernment comes with knowing who you've been as a soul, because if you don't know what teams you've been playing on, you don't know where you've been playing and what, especially Egypt, Atlantis, all of those timelines, there is a massive piece of purge that's coming up for that at the moment. If you don't know who you've been dancing with and what you've been playing with, you will be attracting in the next situation with those players, with those people. And if you don't know your role in that, you will be animating, learning the lesson amongst perhaps things that are not really in your highest alignment now. That is to learn through karma. That's what we've been doing. That's why people are in these cycles again. They think that they've learned their patterns. They've tried to do some attachment theory stuff. They've done their inner child work, but they've done nothing energetically. They've done nothing at root. They don't know who they are. And they are still creating from the person version of themselves, the soul version of themselves in the quantum field that is going through the same thing. There are multiple realities, and each part of us is interacting with different aspects of that. This might sound mind-blowing to people, like too much for them to take. That's why I brought you into the heart, into the field. That's why I wanted this to be a multidimensional transmission, because we're ready for it. This is the time. And it's not like it's Mercury retrograde and I'll just stick my head in the sand and this means this. No, there's been some massive shifts that have happened really since before Christmas. A lot has been happening, clearing up the overlays and sorcery and the things that have been on top of the temples and influencing the true harmonics of divine frequency, of divine masculine, of even the goddesses, the Isis, etc. They had distortion fields affecting them, and they were radiating through the planetary grids and across the different energy fields that was influencing our ability to access the true coding. That has been shut down. So that means that the war consciousness that was being projected out from the Sekhmet temple and the grief that was part of that has been cleared, meaning that it's now radiating out a different harmonic, meaning we collectively tap into multiple fields and through the planetary grids, and we take in this information, this data. This runs through our energy system. So unconsciously, we are creating from it because it is part of us. So when we're tapped into distortion fields, when we are going into places that have inversions, they have information that is not full, true data that we need now, we are entraining ourselves to the environments that we're in, the people that we're around. This is proven via quantum physics now. Look at the law of entrainment. So understanding that when it comes to self-responsibility from a new paradigm perspective, it's going to be about questioning, who is this new person that's popped up in my life? How do I know them? What do? I go into the Akashic Records. I go in and I know who I am up to this level. There's obviously more and more layers, and I can track it and I can understand what's out there. Why has this person come in? Do I want to go through a dance with this person? I'm not clearing my karma by playing it out with someone, so I'm going to do the clearing now. That person may drop out of my experience, or it may mean that any potential drama that was going to play out between the two of us dissipates and it offers a new opportunity of a new type of growth and relationship. That is what we're moving into. Consider that you, instead of just getting a marriage vow or contract, you could clear your karmic agreements and your soul contracts with your partner. So the two of you have to be radically in tune with yourselves and as a collective as to whether you grow and evolve together, not creating from karma, or whether you accept that that growth pattern maybe has not been coherent. So you are consciously having a relationship, both in its coherence and in its exit, without contract, without obligation, without condition, without weird spiritual dogma. It's basically clearing it so the two of you have a fresh slate. That takes a level of soul evolution and consciousness. But I'm giving you this because I know people in my life that are experiencing and living like this with families. The new paradigm has not just popped up in the past 2 weeks, but there has been enough of an anchoring on earth for it now to be starting to show up. And if you are not surrounded by, I'll call it the consciousness hub, if you read the information in here, you may not be aware of what is happening outside of your little communities and your news feeds. And I invite you to consider that your growth is not going to be where you are. Your growth is going to be around others. It's not about us going off in the cave. We all hold unique, like, transmissions, codings that often do not even activate until we meet the other person that holds something that we need. So remember that you are your own soul adventurer. If you keep the same rigid routine every day, if you only see the same people, if you never ever experience new things, you don't create any adventure, you don't put yourself outside your comfort zone, you don't have different conversations, you're not learning and growing on one level, but you're also not going to be accessing the energetic transmissions that occur when we start to put our feet on different land, when we start to connect with others that have taken a different pathway, but actually may be able to accelerate our own growth or help us see something that allows us to traverse a big challenge that we've had. It's energetic, it's soul, just as much as it is, practical day to day. Only you can make those choices. There's no psychic that can say this is a dead cert for you, because you literally are the one that's in control of the vehicle today. If you change one belief, you change the timeline. So that means that whatever a psychic may have read in your field, there are multiple timelines and you're influencing them all just as other parts of you are. So there are no guarantees, really. You have milestones, but the way that you can start playing in coherence with your soul is to understand what has been there, understand what missions you have that are still outstanding, that are not in alignment with how you want to live your life now. You now have the power of overriding karma with your free will by using this free will choice to clear your karma, your energetics, your overlays, your entanglements, where you've taken on stuff that isn't yours, where you're still clearing on behalf of the collective, where you're aligning yourself to the old paradigm of suffering and scarcity and lack, because you are continually clearing those frequencies, because they are coming in from the different parts of you. They're coming in from the connection into your ancestral line. You get to choose. And it's not I've just suddenly cleared all my karma, because it doesn't work like that. You will have different dimensions of things to clear on every dimensional level of being. And what happens is you then access gifts that, otherworldly gifts, quite frankly, that you cannot learn in a book, because you're taking something that you now can embody because your vessel can hold it, that you've done before. So it comes naturally. It's a gift and talent that is part of you. But we, instead of learning it the linear way, the 10,000 times of doing something to become a master, it's a different route. It's the soul route to be able to clear through things, gain conscious awareness, have the understanding that you have played all roles. Release yourself from the judgment of self, release yourself from the judgment of where you are, release yourself from the judgment of the circumstances you've created, and then be able to come into a place of neutrality. Because in neutrality, you're in that clear channel. You can see the bomb site going on around you, but you can hold your connection to source to know that that is just one expression and there are many others. It's not to deny your emotions. It's not to deny reality. It's not to pretend that things aren't happening. It's coming into such a connection and centeredness to source, connection, and soul whilst you're wandering around in your day-to-day. This is something that's quite interesting that's coming up. really at the moment, and it's something that I will be going deeper into, and have also been taking my clients unknowingly through, and then got told this is literally what we're being asked to do. How many times in the day do you connect truly to yourself being that vessel and channel for source so that you hold it? Most people only have that experience once they've been in ceremony, once they have been in a room where you are channeling light and different frequencies. When they come out of that, they can't hold that high. But for us to traverse into a planet that we are co-creating through ourselves, we have to collectively hold that frequency more than just once an hour a week, or whilst we're lifting to a meditation. We're going to be bringing ourselves back into it. And interestingly, that's how we also bridge coming into balanced masculine and feminine whilst we are in like chaotic experiences. Like I'm working with the trader that is on a trading floor, and I'm teaching him this stuff. I'm teaching him how he is able to reset and bring himself into that light channel so his frequency remains outside of what else is going on, so that he is naturally able to get more wisdom, ideas, see visibility, and he can start influencing change just by being him, but also by the clarity that he has. We're being asked to do this. So that means, like, how do you tap into that ability throughout your day to keep your vibrational set point higher? So the clarity you're taking and the intuition that you're taking is from that, rather than running around all over the place, throwing some cards down, thinking that that's going to be, you know, you haven't cleared your space, you haven't cleared your energy, stuck in your head, being reactive to the outer current reality, rather than actually knowing that you have to shift the almost like the speed and the way that you're operating to then anchor into a very different way of how the world responds to you. Allowing yourself that time, which is the opposite of what 3D is wanting us to do at the moment, is actually the gateway. It's the gateway to you holding a higher frequency longer, so that you start to naturally shift into the next dimensional level, which then starts to mean that also old things will drop out. So some of you might have noticed over the past week that each day you might have been really enthusiastic about something one day, and the next day you can't quite catch that thread, almost like you're trying to leap for the next step and you can't make it. It doesn't hold that excitement anymore. Remember, coming back to self, that means that there are collective timeline shifts happening. There are new plasma frequencies coming onto this planet that our light body needs to be cleared and protected and strengthened to be able to assimilate them. The earth grids are affecting everything on this planet, meaning that those that may not take this route, this is one route I'm able to channel and give you my perspective and my experiences, and I can only bring that through with what my teams are asking me to do from that level. There will be others that, you know, don't use social media. They will be connecting to the earth for their kind of like noticing of changes. However, the earth is changing. What is happening at the moment, and science has picked up on this, is that our plants, our flowers, our stones, our earth elementals, their sacred geometry is changing. It's changing because of the frequencies that are being brought up through the earth, through the planetary grids. So earth is going through its own ascension. Yes, we have been doing a lot of energetic clearing of antimatter, which means imagine the yin and yang. We've got to come into balance. That's why all the shadows coming up. Yes, that is going to trigger a lot of people into dark night of the soul, which allows them to go inwards or just take an exit plan. This isn't slowing down. We can't avoid it. We also can't ride it out by just going, oh, gosh, the energies were high, or that's the planets, or that's, I mean, the planets correlate to every chakra within you. If you look at when there's Mercury retrograde, understand that's going to be triggering stuff affecting to that energy center within you. It's all about you in relation to you. So you've got a choice. You ride out the wave of a shitty month that's all over the place, because you're not only being influenced really by the karmic planets, but also by the collective chaos. Or you proactively go, right, okay, every month I know there are these pieces that I need to tune into and I need to proactively work on to alchemize. There is a monthly initiation, 40-day initiation. Imagine it like that. What am I proactively doing that clears my path so that I then can actually start holding my newer frequency and operating system through those nudges each month, without the chaos, the drama, the spiritual smackdown or the big boot of the universe? What are you not letting go of? What are you still holding on to that is massively out of alignment? Because the more you hold on to the relationship, the job, the whatever else it is that is not in alignment with you, the more you disconnect your own connection from source and soul. And someone might say, well, you can't do that. Well, you can, because you spend your time in your head, you can't feel anything in your body, and you can't reach the guidance that is of a pure loving intent that is expansive and connected into infinite fields of potential. That's who you are. You can't connect to that when you're in your head and when you're, your body's locked up and you're, desensitized from everything. So yes, you can disconnect from yourself. And many of us have done that. I did a live yesterday about burnout as being the gateway to feminine awakening. This next wave, if we want to bring down self-sabotage, sacrifice, servitude, martyrdom, victim, the obligations of what it means to be like the old template under patriarchy of that woman's value is only to be a mother, like a womb donor, and basically of service to men. That is the energetic structure that we've come in as. That's what our parents have been operating through in their own ways. That's what religion wiped out the feminine. So if you're going to recognize that our only way of operating in this world was to be in our masculine, give all of our resources and life force to everything outside of ourselves, we've literally been siphoned. We've done it with maybe conscious and unconscious choices. We're in control of that. Now we're at a breaking point, meaning a choice point, where the soul will choose burnout to make you stop. Injury and illness is an access gateway to spiritual development and awakening. So is infertility, because we're being asked to become conscious in our co-creation. We're being asked to become conscious in how we conceive, meaning the soul's coming in. They don't want to pick up all this dross and all your stuff you hold. They've got to sit in the vessel for 9 months. These souls are higher frequencies than some of the people on this planet. So that means that it's not in coherence. So there have been ways in the past few years that, for example, this whole thing of people purging and being sick all the way through pregnancy, that's quite a new thing to be happening on the level it has. And it's because if you bring a higher frequency into a denser form, it's going to find a way to purge very quickly. And the soul isn't actually into the physical body until 7 months in anyway. So ultimately, it's not going through experiencing what it's like to be in the body whilst having that emotional overlay. But it's a way of making the mother raise her frequency, and it will bring up all her emotional stuff that is not in coherence with that soul coming in. We've got to remember that everything is energy. Soul consciousness is energy. The information is there for us. If we are not connecting to all we are limiting ourselves. And that's when we end up feeling like a victim. That's when we feel hopeless. That's when we feel we must follow someone else because they look like they've got their shit together. And you might want a bit of that. All into self. And we've all got unique gifts and paths because we have mastered certain things in different timelines. That's why my offering for those that are ready to elevate, to catalyze, they no longer want to be playing in this level, is to bring people into that awakened awareness that it is a conscious choice in how they are operating, how they are showing up, how they are sharing, how they are being. And it's an evolution. So I'll show you in the past week and a half, obviously knowing that we've now got 2 split holographic realities, the new paradigm reality, which is being built through us holographically, and with the coding that must be kept clear for new paradigm. There are many conscious leaders on this planet that are being initiated into really operating without limitation, operating without the constructs of the doubt, the fear, the bullshit around, limitation of money and resource. They are being asked to go into the unknown within them and create from that space. They are creating consciousness hubs, which is something I'm going to be creating in my next program for those that are ready to go through this kind of journey. But in doing so, we are being a contributor to this new paradigm collectively. So it means that consciousness hubs means each of you has a level of soul contract to be part of that new paradigm of creating and anchoring it. Remember, everything is about collective consciousness. Everything is unseen until there is enough of a collective mass consciousness that it then drops into the reality for everybody else. So we're looking at people clearing their consciousness levels high enough whilst the rest are literally creating up here, and they are then anchoring it. So we then get this. It will never be exact. this will be able to manifest over the next 10 years, but we are able to start living through it now. So living through it means you're not going somewhere. It's about you shifting the way that you're thinking, feeling, operating, viewing the world and your vision in alignment with the coherence of who you are, which takes you into that new way of being, and living from that. So tapping into source throughout the day, tapping into bringing those frequencies through your form, actually working on your light body. I put out loads of activations last year in my www.purelight1111.com website. There's transmissions that were on the light body. There are things that you can get remote activations to help you through these transitions, because the old tools aren't going to work. What Reiki was brought in for is not for new paradigm. This is where, for example, many people that I've connected in with have brought through their own mastery through their soul, and they're bringing it from that. And that's exactly what I'm doing with my own work. That's where the Soul Architect series is birthed. That technology has come almost from reverse technology from my soul and the different teams and light groups that I work with. It is being seeded for the role that I will play, just as many others are doing the same, and just as you may be being called to do yourself. So when things are not working anymore, meaning the old tools are not enough, and I'll give you an indication of what I've actually had to go through in the past week. I went through a shift through a massive heart upgrade to the point that my heart has to be clear. And if I even feel any constriction or anything, I don't feel anxiety. If I do, I know it's an alarm bell. I need to go and track where that's coming from, who it's from, where that's being driven from. And I've got obviously security teams and trespass agreements and all of these things in my architecture. That is set up because of the work that I'm doing, and knowing that by me being more visible, by me sharing my light in this way, I'm making even more of a strong declaration. And there's still a lot of discord and antimatter, both on this earth and outside of the planet Earth, that is not wanting us to reclaim the power of our DNA. Remember, your DNA strands have been messed about with. Anunnaki is the root of that. And that goes back into Atlantean, Egyptian, and beyond. That affects our ability to access the next level of dimensional consciousness. Each line of DNA activates each energy center and chakra. So if our DNA is locked at a certain level, we cannot transcend into the consciousness that allows more of our own sovereignty, i.e. connection back to self and source. So that is something that we are doing some work on at the moment. And that's something that will be bringing up a big piece very, very soon. So I had a big heart piece happening. I did the heart piece literally within, where did I go? I went to Glastonbury actually, and I went to Chalice Wells, and I did the clearing within like an hour, realized what was actually playing out, understood that this was a full, another layer of disconnect actually from my ancestral lineage, and that there was a real ending of all these things. And I wasn't quite sure why. It was just, I knew there was other pieces of that, but it was like, no, this is like literally, it's because I'm being placed into this new paradigm of how I'm being asked to step up, operate, live, breathe, create, run my business, operate money, show up in the world. It's from that version. Yeah. And none of this other stuff can even be anywhere near me. So to go into the multi-level of soul and do that, that was a big piece that I did with the Temples of Light, with the different teams that I know orchestrate these initiations, and allowing other dimensional teams to step in and do the work that I don't even need to know the consciousness level of. It's aligning to that. So I had that happen. Then a few days later, I went in and did a very deep piece of work, really to go into the Golden Akasha. There are different Akashic records. There are different Akashic records that are open and accessible depending on your soul lineage and what mystery schools you've been connected in with and who you are. You don't know that unless you know who you are as a soul, and that comes from doing your past life work. And if somebody is thinking, right, oh my God, how do I learn all this stuff? The program in my website, www.purelight1111.com, the Twin Flame Awakening program, the online Twin Flame Awakening program, it gives you a toolkit to clear all of the stuff that I'm kind of talking about at this moment to a level where you will be elevated into a 5D consciousness, or at least you've then got to obviously embody, live it, and start to create from it. But it's basically going through the multi-levels at soul, biohologram, energetic. It teaches you how to do the past life work. It teaches you how to take yourself out of dark night of the soul. It teaches you how to do the inner soul fragmentation work that's needed for not as inner child, but the fragmented other pieces that are going on there. And it comes in with a very grounded, it's a strong foundation. It's resetting you. So it means that what you didn't get in attachment and childhood, core wounding, etc., it will be able to start to show you the beliefs, i.e. the frequencies you're holding, that are holding your set points, so you can clear them and do it at soul level, so you start to elevate. It's a very deep clearing. I created it because it's everything I actually had to go through myself. If you are wanting the toolkit to start going into the Akashic Records, who is this new person coming into my experience? Who is this? You need to have a gateway to do that. And you need to know that you're asking the right things, and you need to have the protocols afterwards to do the clearing. It's not just about accessing the Akashic Records. So anyway, at that point there, I went into the Golden Akasha and looked at really what was actually going on with something I saw around a money block. And bear in mind, I have my Money, Soul and Magic with the Galactic Council of Money program. And I still am doing different dimensional levels of money work, because money wealth consciousness is shifting. And because I have my experience in the, finance world, but also my roots as a soul is through the banking system, through many lifetimes, there are many different intricacies and pieces around that. And energy will block just as it will open up. So I went in there and was able to identify a curse that had been placed on me as I was a high priestess, trying to stop the Amun priests from, essentially, they were corrupting and taking over the taxes and the money in Egypt. And there was a curse that had become activated. Now, with me going in the half an hour that I went in and did this, within that time, when I came out, I checked my phone and I'd had 2 invoices that had been delayed from being paid, fully paid in. It unblocked something energetically that quickly, that money had come in that had been outstanding for months that I was owed. This is how this stuff works. We go into the root, we transform it. We don't need to know all the other details. We then alchemize it and things move. So the next piece that came up, this is all within a week, was going into really what I'm stepping into now. And I braided a higher dimensional aspect of myself, who was from an Atlantean timeline as a high priestess. I've had different timelines in Atlantis. We had different epochs. It went on for thousands of years. There were many different times when they tried to stop the experiment. And in this timeline, I was also then given these tablets, because it was the body of work that I had created that is now ready to be birthed through me. So this is for this next evolution, this next elevation. So that part of me then became braided with my soul and brought through. And this requires a level of psychic surgery and architecture for that to occur. That is what my Soul Architect series is about, because that is what I was initiated to do. So I have the teams, I can do these things quickly. That's in 1 week. And what that has done, it has literally shifted these experiences. Last week, I had 2 events that somehow managed to get mixed up either side. And I just knew straight away I was not actually even meant to be attending either. And they dropped out of my experience. Knowing that that is what is happening. And also one other thing, there's a piece of work that's happening around the holding down of our DNA, which ultimately affects the collective mass awakening. And I had interference through Anunnaki consciousness that I had to clear 2 days ago. So knowing I can track where it is, who it's coming in from, what it's about, because I know who I am, because I've done that work, because I've mastered those things, because I've been through these things. It's to prepare me for now, so it doesn't become an obstacle. And we are going through this invitation. It's not just step up. It's like step in, bring more of you in. And that is the evolution and the expansion. If things are feeling stuck for you, if things are not moving the way they used to, if you're not excited by things as you used to, if you have no libido, massive issue. Why? Because it shows how much you are channeling your own creative life force energy through your body. Doesn't matter if you have a partner, doesn't matter any of that. If you cannot receive and experience that life force energy through you, you are being disconnected on some level, consciously and unconsciously, and sometimes even interference energetically. That work is part of the feminine awakening. It's something that is so important. And it's also all connected to the core wounding that people are being called to really go into at this time, because the core wounding is actually a big separation piece to you accessing more of your truth, your soul. This new consciousness is not going to hold victim frequency. So if you're not able to be radically self-responsible for yourself, you're just not even going to meet these people. They're not going to want to hang out with you if you're there moaning, groaning, victim, this has happened to me and he did this and I'm being attacked by this, because that isn't truth. It's just part of a consciousness evolution to evolve past. Get yourself the toolkit, know that you can drop your frequency and play through any different playground. I can sit in my basement if I want to, but quite frankly, I will feel all sorts of nonsense going on. I can't sit there. The frequency is too low, and it will mean that, imagine you are this radio station. So it's not we're jumping into a new world. Well, we are kind of energetically, but the radio station, you are the one in control of the dial. You are the one that finds out if the dial is not working and not moving. You're the one that goes, well, I want to dial into this. So to be into this frequency, that means that my belief set and how I'm operating in the world and how I'm able to slow down and catch myself when I go into a limitation thought, rather than start to make choices off the back of that, rather than it invoking an emotion. That emotions are just energy in motion. They dissipate in 90 seconds if we look at the biology and the chemistry through the brain and the gut. We don't. We hold on to it and we think we believe it all. This is us basically learning how to evolve in connection with the consciousness of our brainstem, of our nervous system, of our diaphragm, starting to talk to the organs, starting to talk to the parts of your being, start to recognize that this is all parts of you. Your body is not separate from your soul. It is just another dimensional consciousness of you. Your soul chose your body. When we detach, we, self-sabotage, when we are unkind to ourselves, when we cannot connect to different parts of our body that are available for us, and we then have layers of guilt, shame, religious beliefs about, or spiritual beliefs about what's right or wrong or what we shouldn't do. All of it's bullshit. It's man-made dogma. We get a choice. We can believe into that morphic field of consciousness, or we can start to unravel ourselves again, into a refinement. Yeah, there should not be a judgment about how we have a connection to source, to our soul, to our bodies. And that also means source energy is money. It's a resource for us to be able to navigate and create and co-create in this reality. When we hold on to all this funkiness and stories, and of course, it's going to reflect in our outer incoherence of what is presenting to us. But if we can know that at any one point, you can literally clear something and the money comes in, as I have happen again, even in the Money, Soul and Magic, when we were going through that live, the groups were doing some of these tasks. Women were like, one woman got 4K, another woman got a pay rise in a week. It doesn't make linear sense because we're not working in the linear. I'm not operating solely through 3D rules. This is the power that you have to create, but it takes mastery, and that mastery is your commitment to evolving. It's about your commitment to your art, which is you, the blooming of yourself. Every day there is something that I am aware of, shifting, working on, expanding. My toolkit doesn't just sit where it is. It's forever evolving. And there are things that I, acquired earlier on in my journey that they're just not fit for the job anymore. Invite yourself to understand what information sources are you still aligning to that are not stretching you, are not expanding your consciousness, and where you're feeling that you have outgrown something. And know that, one of the key things, if you want to get things moving, is to really, those quantum timelines, looking at who you've been, your past life, what's playing out for you. You've created a family matrix. You have manifested into a family dynamic where all of you have past life connections. All of you have karma to clear. So even if you're not going further out through the 10 generations back, which will elevate all of them, you're going to have your own stuff going on. This doesn't need to take lifetimes, but it does need to mean that you take responsibility for it. And it also means that you get to elevate the frequency of not only yourself, your own family, you get to clear and help all those that are in physical body and are on the astral plane, because not all of your ancestors are in physical form. Some of them are still earthbound, some of them will be on other dimensional planets, all sorts. So it means that we know our power to clear on a much wider scale, so we have a bigger impact when we do the work for us. So it's of service to do the work for yourself, not just for yourself. It's not selfish to work on yourself. It's not selfish to choose to be the one that decides no more poverty, no more lack, no more scarcity, no more hating myself, no more judging myself, because those echoes, everybody around you have held it. It's a loud banging drum by the time it gets to you, which means that you need to refine your hearing to recognize there is something, a truth outside of the loud din of everybody else's frequencies that influence us. And that's really the power of this work, the power of this time for us to evolve. So what I've done is I've put some pieces in the comments, which you will see on, hopefully come up on YouTube, and hopefully come into Facebook. Let's have a little look. Did they pop up? Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Let's have a look. Yes. If you go in, you will see from StreamYard on the Allera Dawn thing, it's not going to let me do anything with it now, but all the comments and everything are there. There are some really key pieces, and I'm actually going to link in the online Twin Flame Healing Program. It's not just for those in Twin Flames, but that is a anchor point of people that were going through very express awakenings who were being called to clear deeper levels of distortion and illusion very, very quickly. Many didn't. Many got into entanglements, distortion, spiritual dogma, went the 3D. They couldn't get themselves out of the mess they were in. And I'm talking seeing people that were in that situation, 20 years down the line. That is not what we're here for. So ultimately, that program was to help somebody evolve their consciousness whilst keeping their feet on the ground, whilst thriving. While it was what I did whilst I was working on the sales and trading floor for a global investment bank, clearing timelines whilst I was like going off to the loo and having all of this stuff. I had flashbacks. I had stuff come through my physical body. I was working through it at night. I was beginning to see where all these timelines and all this magic got activated, that things would blow up if I didn't basically use my gifts to clear things. So I went on an express journey, an initiation into earning my stripes, being able to keep my feet on the ground in a really high powered role, whilst also doing this deep alchemy and also initiation into my power. And it made me come out of the spiritual closet. It made me have to face the parts of myself that I wasn't showing up, but they were parts of me and they were banging on the door. And knowing that to show up unapologetically is to claim and own all of your mastery. And that's what we're here for at this time. So that is a gift. Any of the clients that are working with me in the Diamond Brilliance at the moment, they are using the Twin Flame Healing Program for certain things like the weekly Akashic Record clearing, or they'll go in and start doing past life clearing, or they will start doing things so that they know how to start to run and look at things themselves. They start to have that level of mastery. I'm not here for codependence, but I am here to really take you on initiation so that this is done in a vortex, a container where you are held to your highest regard, your highest evolved self. And I'm not dipping down to, play in your basement with you. I'm going to help you rise to that. So that's what that program, that's the base level, that's the wake up level program. I have had so many people that have come to me and they're like, I've been healing for 10 years. I've been doing all this work and things are not changing because you haven't gone deep enough. As I've just explained, I've just lifted the lid on the other layers of self, and actually the fact that you can spend 3 months going through that program and have radically changed all areas of your life. I work on the whole perspective, meaning multidimensional, but all areas of your life, because if you change one in one, it changes something in the other. And the way we unconsciously do things in one area will be replicated elsewhere. So it's grounded in the respect that it connects into the linear timeline of experience, i.e., childhood and childhood development and more of that side, but we're going in and doing the deeper work that actually then allows you to open up new opportunities and see things in a more empowered sense, and also put things to bed. Like, if you keep on holding on to the story of who you thought you've been through the experiences that you've had, you're going to be tugged into playing the victim, or tugged into only experiencing your life through the lens of your past trauma. You are more than that. You are more than your trauma. It is an experience, and it's something that we orchestrate because we learn through the contrast. And it's also set up to remember, because we would not even know it was there if we hadn't had these anchor points at soul level to be able to go back into. So remember that we are the first generation to have access to be able to clear karma proactively in the way that we are. That is why there is so much of it at this time. You will get to a point where you are not operating, things will pop up, but then you go in like I do and you do a deep dive and then you move on. It's not like it's in this onslaught. Because most people have not done it at the pace I did and others have done, you are going to have more come up, because you've got to a point where now the pressure cooker's on with mainstream. So there's a collective stuff coming up on top of your own. So that's all, a choice. We can do it proactively or we can do it reactively. Remember, reactively means that you're going to pull yourself into a timeline that aligns to experiencing something to learn that way, or we proactively know that there are certain points. There is like a pathway, not a set pathway, but there are certain ways of being able to understand the different consciousness levels that if we understand, we go into those pieces, we get to pull the thread on it all. I'm interested in going to the root. I'm not interested in, like, I call it like vanity metrics, digging around in the Akashic records for no reason. No, not interested in that. You don't learn from it. And it's also, we have to be very clear on the energy that we go into these records with, because if we are not holding the truest frequency intention and we don't articulate exactly what we want to receive, we won't be getting clear information. And that's deliberate, because obviously it holds everything, every thought, feeling, expression. There is nothing that is not known about you in those records, because there is neutrality about it. It doesn't hold a judgment that you had a negative thought. It's just that is what it is. So unless you can come in and hold that lens of perspective and understanding, you will not be able to access the full suite of information. So that's why when we do this work to understand who you are on all levels of being, you gain a level of expansion in your compassion and your ability to hold a level of neutrality that allows you to access more of these data points to gather information that help you make decisions. And remember, when we are creating in the quantum, the energy first, we do have to recognize that there's multiple streams of information. And what are we accessing? What are we choosing? And then bringing that into alignment with where we are now. So super, super exciting time, and lots happening. And I would just say the changing of the guards is at the end of March. There's some big shifts happening into the first week of April. We will start seeing mass collective change. So there is a window. This evening, I'm running a heart activation, which is basically going to do the work that I did on myself for a group this evening. It's at 7 o'clock. I'm going to add the links into Facebook and the different pages. If you don't catch this and you pick this up later on, I will sell the replay. So you'll just be able to sign up for the link. I run these once a month. They're the only things that I'm doing at the moment that are outside of my programs, because I like to work going deep with a group of people in a container. If you are only dipping in and out, you're not fully in with the level of investment for your growth and expansion. So this is great as, maybe you've got other bodies of work that you do, but you want to do a deep dive. You want to be able to, recognize, well, I've been affected by these things and I could benefit from that. So you dip into it. But for those that are in my other containers or working with me one-to-one, it is really a fast track trajectory. So they are also aligning to moving in the same way that I am. So this is about, my soul has chosen these things in advance. It's not an ego decision of, oh, there's the shiny new thing. It's like you just get moved. So that comes from a deeper level of trust and knowing and being flexible. And that's really also a deep skill set that gets transferred when you're in my spaces, is you begin to ease into allowing the universe to kind of work through you and for you. And most people are so stuck in the head and rigid and controlled that they are not available for that, because they're looking for the visible outside things immediately. They're looking for the, give me the contract, let me agree the definition. It just doesn't work like that. And that's you holding you back. So when we open up through the heart, we start to open up energetically to different dimensional planes. We start to be able to feel what is organic and what isn't. We begin to feel intentions. We also begin to radiate out and be felt by others. The magnetism, partly through the heart. So really important. We can't avoid the heart opening work. We do need to do the work of what has blocked it. But this will be a really beautiful session where we will go into that. So super excited to bring that through. I'm super excited to bring this session through, and thanks to the people that managed to get this live. And also, obviously, I run the Ask Allera, which is weekly at the moment. And if you have any questions that are specific, not just random general things, as in like about your personal situation, if you have personal questions about an issue you're going through, book a one-to-one with me, which you can do through the site. It's about things that are maybe to do with, collective things, spiritual things, energetic things, money, wealth consciousness, business, those things. You can send an email to askallera@mail.com. And then I'm collating all of the questions, and those that I tune in and that have the biggest collective impact, meaning by me sharing, it's going to help many people, then I will share those. Because remember, also, there's many people that will be waking up over the next few months, and they are going to be looking for guidance. They're going to be looking for guidance that also resonates with where they're at, but keeping their feet on the ground. People are not going to be, able to just like disappear off into the cave. And we're not being called to do that either. So this is about, how do we enhance the life we're living that is more true to our soul? How do we live a soul-aligned life? And how do we integrate our mastery, our wisdom, our higher dimensional consciousness? How do we connect in with the different parts of our being to be able to have the most embodied version and experience in this lifetime? That is really what we're all being called to do. And in doing so, the world shifts when we do, because it is literally a reflection of this outer hologram. So yeah, super excited. Have a watch if this is the first time you've caught this. Have a look at the other Ask Alleras. I've also got loads of different people in different industries that I did interviews with last year on my podcast. They're up there in video. It doesn't discriminate who is waking up and where you are. We need awakened lawyers. We need awakened accountants. We need awakened doctors. Everybody is going to have to go through some level of belief system and energetic shifting. So yeah, that's why it's broad. And there's no discrimination over who I work with because of which industry they're in. It's if it's soul aligned. So if that speaks to you, you want support, or you want a session, or you want to find out more about how you can work with me in different containers, reach out to me through the website. Sending you lots of love and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.